Y'all going to see this new Lisa Rinna movie that's coming out called Bullet Train? Let me tell y'all something. When I saw that post on Bravo Wild Black's Instagram page, it just tickled me silly. Okay, it just tickled me silly. Listen. That was actually Sandra Bullock in a Lisa Rinna style wig. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this Ponderosa started. It's your boy DJ Richie Skye. We are back in the building, baby. Back in the building, live and direct. And we got to talk about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Okay. Season 12, episode 5, in hot water, or as I like to call it, Tales from the Dark Side, okay? Because we still got some more dark territory to cover and maneuver our way through tonight, okay? Well, today, I should say. Now, I don't know if y'all happen to catch that preview for next week, but let me tell you something. Before I even dive down into the depths of this particular episode, listen, this moment right here got me so amped for next week. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do with myself.
Yeah, Erika, you're bugging the shit out of me.
It needed to be said. Okay, it needed to be said. It really did. Because every time Erika's on the screen lately, this is usually what I'm doing.
Erika, you're bugging the shit out of me.
And I can't wait for it, okay? I cannot wait for it. Now, with that being said, listen. If you are watching the channel right now, if you tapped in, tuned in, and turned on, okay? Let me know where you are watching from in a good chatterization. I see we got Memphis in the building. We got London is in the building. I saw Brooklyn. Yep, Fancy is in the house. Okay. Who else is in here? Salisbury, Maryland. I see you. Come on now. South Africa is in the house. Denver, Columbia, South Carolina. Hey, I see y'all. I see y'all in the building. Let us know where you watching from. Atlanta, Mays Landing, New Jersey, Bronx, Vegas, Nairobi, Kenya, baby, Phoenix, Arizona, Stanford, Connecticut, Newark, New Jersey, Jacksonville, Prospect, Virginia, Detroit, Los Angeles, Vallejo, Dallas. We got St. Thomas. We got Barbados in the building. Goose Creek, South Carolina. Hey, come on now. Jamaica in the building. San Antonio. Listen, she did what needed to be done. I see you over there in Bowie. Yes, come on, London. Birmingham in the house. I see y'all. So let's go ahead and talk about this episode right here. I'm gonna give this episode a 9. It was an episode that was kind of intense, and it got way more interesting at the end. Okay, we got a lot of good, interesting reveals at the end, and for that reason, I'm gonna give it a 9. So you had to really stick around to the end of the show to really get everything that you needed to get from it. And I see a lot of y'all on the same page. Okay. Let us know what you would rate the episode in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10. You guys know how we do it. Yeah, it was a very interesting episode. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. And we're going to go ahead and discuss all the nuance of it right now. Okay, so we start the episode off with Garcelle, who has purchased a beach house. And this is really important for her because as she reflects on growing up in Haiti, this is something that she always saw for herself. And I love that we started off the episode with this because I felt like it was just it's just a nice moment, because I think if you are a person of color, if you're a Black person in particular, but you know, to be able to see yourself fulfilling these types of dreams and for them to start the episode off like that, I just felt like it was just, yes. I mean, it was a nice little moment to see her there in her home, celebrating with her sister, you know, excited about this new process. She literally bought a house. She's going to tear it down and she's going to build the beach house of her dreams. So I'm super excited about that. Dorit meets up with Erika. Okay. And to recaps her EMDR therapy session, and she says that it's really draining. They, of course, talk about Lisa Rinna's mom, Lois, and we find out that they had to put her in hospice with strict directives not to put her on life support. So I know that has to be a very tough decision to have to make in the last days of someone's life. So my heart really does go out to Lisa Rinna for that. Dorit tells Erika about the trip to Punta de Mita, okay? And Diana is gonna fire up the private jet, okay? Can I call her Dirty Diana? I mean, it's not that I feel like she's dirty or nothing like that, but I feel like she need a nickname, okay? You know what I'm saying? Dirty Diana to me. That's how she giving it to me, okay? Anyway, Erika remembers her time having a private jet. Oh, back in the days when they were using the money from the jets. Let me not even go down that path. Anyway, Kyle meets up with Crystal for an intense sit-down ponderosa, okay? Now, they recap Paris getting married and all the prep that's gone into that. And Kyle asks Crystal, girl, how is you feeling? Okay. And Crystal says it's hard for her because she kept these feelings in for so long. And Kyle was shocked that she brought up something from a year ago while trying to defend herself from Garcelle and then threw Sutton under the bus in the process. And basically tells her that you left an open situation that could be interpreted as something else and making it worse than it actually was. Okay. Now, in order to really get down into the specifics of this, you would have had to also watch What Happens Live last night as well. If you watch What Happens Live last night, let us know in the chatterization because you will know exactly where I'm going. But part of me wants to save this reveal because I had to get it after the fact. So I feel like it will make more sense if I walk you through how I feel as I'm watching the episode. But let me get to the end and I'm going to tell you exactly the tea that you need to know about this whole situation that is not really making any sense to anybody right now, but may make a little bit more sense to you when we get to that point in the episode. Okay. Boom. More to the story. Okay. So at this point, I'm just going to tell you how I feel as I'm watching the episode. So we're going to walk through it as we're watching this episode, processing it just based on the information that we have right now. Okay. So Crystal then says, I'm not going to repeat what she said. So this makes things difficult for not only the cast members, but for us as the audience, because to me, I am a big fan of if you say something or if you allude to somebody saying something that could be problematic, you need to tell us what that person said. Okay. That's just my personal belief. Don't leave it open-ended because you definitely do more damage and you allow my imagination to run amok. Okay. And so now this person is going to be walking around with the stain of the potential that they said something that is problematic that could get a lot of people riled up. Okay. So, and it's bad enough that we on the edge of our seats halfway riled up right now, but she's sticking to her guns and she's not going to repeat what she said. So Kyle says, then you never should have mentioned it in the first place. I agree. Crystal then says, lesson learned. Kyle then is not done yet because she's like, that's extremely dangerous. And she calls out, she said, Sutton said something that was problematic last year. She said Crystal corrected her and then Sutton apologized. Okay. I don't know where else we're going to go with that, but that's all we know at this moment right now. Okay. So keep that in mind. So Crystal said, it's not my place to say the details. Yes, it is. If you bring it up, it's your place to say the details to me. I mean, that's my thoughts. Okay. And then, Kyle says that's dangerous, and I think that you're gaslighting. And I love the fact that Kyle said that to her face. Okay. Crystal says you have to be careful with using that term. And Kyle says, are you going to be dramatic about that? Crystal says, no, I'm not being dramatic. I'm going to ask you to give me the benefit of the doubt. And I'm trying to figure out how you want us to give you the benefit of the doubt when you won't really be honest about what she said. Okay. Because here's the thing. If you're trying to save her reputation, you didn't do it any favors by alluding to the fact that she said something problematic, but then never saying it, because now we still think the worst. Anyway, Crystal says, well, so Kyle says, if I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to ask you to be direct and less passive aggressive. And Crystal says, does that mean that you'll hear me and be open to my feelings? Kyle says, well, that means that you have to be open to other feelings too. And then Crystal at that point says, I'll do everything possible to be more open and direct in the future. And then they kind of talk about Mexico. And then ironically, they joke about swimming with sharks in the ocean. Okay. Dirty Diana heads over to Kyle's for a visit. And Kyle still has those dogs running wild up in that house. Listen, I'm a pet lover. I have a dog. I have 2 dogs. One dog is with my mama. Okay. But what the dog do not do is run up on the table, okay, and get the food. Why? Because the dog's been trained, okay? And Kyle, if you don't get these dogs into some type of training program and away from these people food, these people not going to want to keep going over to your house, but you got these dogs running around lapping up the food every time they turn their head, okay? Put them in the backyard when somebody come over, for goodness sakes. Anyway, Kyle recaps Paris's wedding. The night before was the beginning of the 3-day wedding, and she announces that her own daughter got engaged, but didn't want to announce it on Paris's big day. Diana then goes into this story about her baby passing while the baby was in the womb. Is that what I heard her say? I was trying to understand it but I couldn't quite get all the details of it, and I didn't feel like keep pressing rewind. But she did tell this harrowing story of losing a baby, and in a very dangerous way. And I don't know how we got on that topic, but it did not sound too good. So my heart goes out to her. Okay. Anyway, Garcelle is meeting up with Sutton for the dinner. Okay. They, of course, recapped the other night and how strange everything was. Sutton says that she and Crystal talked about it over the summer. Now, here is where we start to get into the nitty-gritty of what was actually being talked about, okay? JMW says the baby fainted. Is that what it was? I really don't know. I was trying, I could not understand. Honestly, I couldn't understand the details of it. Anyway, Sutton says that she and Crystal talked about their interaction over the summer. What allegedly happened was we get a story where she told Crystal about her son, her son who is white, okay, with a black girl in the pool and a Chinese girl in the pool, and her telling Crystal that this is what life should be about. Everybody coming together. And Crystal then says in the flashback, well, girl, that's not enough. Okay. That's not enough of that. You thinking like that is not enough to make up for, maybe what was said earlier. I don't know. So Garcelle says, well, what did Crystal find so dark about that? And Sutton says, because we were talking about race, and that is exactly what I just said. What is what was said during the conversation. So Garcelle is confused because Sutton sees the conversation as just a pointed conversation, and Garcelle doesn't necessarily see anything wrong with the conversation. I don't see anything particularly wrong with the conversation because I feel like I understand the intent behind it. And I feel like Sutton sometimes is clumsy with her words, but I'm waiting for the darkness to appear. You know what I'm saying? I'm waiting for the shadow to come creeping in like a thief in the night. And I don't think I done seen the boogie monster yet. Okay. But anyway, without any other information about this conversation and without being able to witness any more of it via flashback, Garcelle is forced to tell her to, girl, just watch your back. Okay. Watch your back. Because if she's saying these things, then she's not a friend. And Sutton says, I know it's scary. It scares me. So then we learn on November 15th, 2021, Lisa Rinna announced that her mom passed in hospice and she did not want a feeding tube, no resuscitation, nothing. It was a hard decision to keep her alive. And we get some fun flashbacks of Lisa and her mom, Lois. And we just got to send up some prayers for Lisa and her family, because I cannot even imagine what she has gone through and what she's still going through with regards to that. Back in Beverly Hills, Okay, all the girls get a text that Lisa's mom passed. Kyle and Erika FaceTime about it. Now at the airport, because it's time to go on the trip to the Punta de Mita. Okay, they all greet Lisa, and she's been in Medford for a week taking care of all the arrangements. And we learned that the girls, her daughters, got to have a moment with her mom before she passed, which is really nice. And then the next thing you know, it was time to board the private jet. Okay. So they arrive. Sutton, Crystal, Erika, and Garcelle are all sitting in the same car, quiet as church mice, because it's awkward, because they all the ones that got the issues. Okay. Garcelle then starts to joke that Dorit is probably speaking Spanish in the other car, which breaks up the quiet because they all know she is. And sure enough, Dorit is over in that car speaking the Spanish. Okay. Meanwhile, Dirty Diana has sent her team ahead because she got to have the hotel set up. You know, the clothes got to be hung up, the bed got to be unmade to a certain spot, drinks got to be set out, makeup station got to be set up, foot massages are set in the background, the massage table in the background, the bubble bath is going, the shower is running, the food is cooking on the stove, drinks are being prepared, servants are coming up to give her whatever she wants. Diana just got it all. Okay, she got everything set. Her whole team and her glam team or whatever she traveled with, they are there to make sure that her accommodations are suitable for a queen such as she. Okay, so anyway, it's dinner time. Okay, Diana and Crystal arrive first, followed by Rinna and Sutton. Then Kyle, Garcelle, and Erika arrive, and Garcelle is looking amazing in that dress. Anyway, we learn that Dorit is running late. The ladies begin to order their drinks. I love that Garcelle just orders Casamigos neat and a Corona. Like, I'm like, what kind of laid back old stuff is that? First of all, I do not like a beer. Okay, maybe it's just me. Do y'all like Corona like that? I don't like no Corona, and I cannot drink I mean, I guess I could, but that's usually a shot. I can't do neat drinks like that. You know what I'm saying? I need me a splash or something in it. Like put a little, zhuzh it up a little or something like that for me. Get it a little, little nice and toasted for me. Don't give me that thing neat. Anyway, I digress. They begin to chat about Lois and they toast to her. And I was just thinking to myself, well, hopefully this means no drama at dinner. Yeah, right. Dorit finally arrives and something was going on around her room to the point where she didn't feel safe. This was yet another instance where I did not understand what she was talking about or what she said. All I know is that in some way, shape, or form, some type of PTSD is happening, and it has followed her down to the Mexico, and she is having trouble adjusting. And I don't really know why. I couldn't understand the story. And this was yet again one of those times where I felt like I'm not going to pause this and rewind it to listen to it 3-4 times to try to understand it. Okay. I'm just not. Okay. Call me lazy. So anyway, Lisa's like, y'all, I was gone for a week. What I miss? She knew what she was doing. Everybody's sitting around quiet. Nobody want to say nothing. Sutton is like, well, I had a store event. Everybody's still looking around, trying to avoid the subject. And then Sutton says, well, she had a busy week, so she apparently missed a lot too. Girl, you ain't miss all that much. You was there. Catherine Forehand, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for all the content you provide for us. Love you, darling. Love you too, boo. Love you too. Okay. Dirty Diana. Okay. Anyway, listen. Let me just say this about life in general. If you are not the type of person that just burst out into song randomly, I don't know if I don't know if I can hang out with you. I'm strong. I am the type of person that I'm gonna bust out into song. I don't know what a lyric. It's just something gonna spark in me to just bust out in song, and that's just life. That's just how I do. I mean, just because somebody had commented about something. You always trying to sing in your videos and your lives, and I was like, you must be new here. Okay, you must not know us. We family around here. Get on somewhere. Anyway, I digress again. So anyway, Sutton says, apparently y'all had a conversation without me. Crystal says, no, we had a conversation at your party too. And then Kyle says, we filled her in on the conversation. And Sutton says, I just don't want to be misconstrued in any way with the dark conversation. And then she says, I come from a place of love for everyone. Okay. And she doesn't want any untruths being spoken that could be more dangerous. Okay. And that's literally how she was talking. Okay. So Crystal says, I felt more uncomfortable and we've gone through it. And so then Sutton says, why bring it up? I want to be able to trust our friendship. Crystal says it was our very first conversation and the tone was heavy and dark and heavy and uncomfortable. So I'm trying to understand this. There are some semantics here, and I feel like we're getting lost in a lot of semantic. Okay. Dorit asked her about, well, why did you say something about what she said was a lot worse and it's dark? And so then Crystal says this. So words are like a war shack, okay? And everybody at the table looking like, what? Garcelle is like, a what? And Erika has to chime in and say a blot test. Y'all, if you've all seen a blot test, now she could have just said a blot test, but it's one of those instances where she chose to use the word war shack. Oh, so okay, let's go with it. Okay. And so Crystal then kind of sarcastically says, I know these are big words. And Garcelle is like, we understand big words. And in her confessional, she shades her. She was like, I could use big words too, but it's okay because I don't want to make her uncomfortable. So Diana pipes in that Crystal is the youngest in the group. And Dorit is like, 30 is not a baby. Okay. So Diana talks about being a fox. And I was trying to figure out the correlation because maybe this is a metaphor for aging that I have not heard about yet. But she talks about being a fox and how her tail has gotten longer in the past decade. And I'm assuming she is talking about experience. And so the ladies start talking about that or whatever like that. And I feel like they're trying to attribute what Crystal is going through to her age. I ain't going to attribute it to her age. Moreover, I just find it confusing. Okay. That to me is the simple fact of it all. Anyway, Sutton then continues on about coming from a place of love. And she feels like Crystal has tried to assassinate her character twice now. And it makes her nervous about the friendship. Okay. And so Erika is in awe, of course. And Garcelle is like, what? And every time this woman opens her mouth, all I think about is
Erika, you're bugging the out of me.
Me too. Erika is like, this is what I was saying all last year. Sutton was assassinating my character too. We don't want to hear about it. Okay. We don't care. We don't. She did not try to assassinate your character. What your husband did and allegedly, well, we could say did at this point, is the thing that has put a stain on your character. And the fact that you conveniently was getting a divorce right before all of this news broke. That's what triggered people about you and the way that you handled your sensitivity level with the victims. But that's all on you. You're your own worst enemy. You did it to yourself, not Sutton. She asked the questions that everybody else wanted to know. She asked the questions that everybody else was too afraid to ask. Okay, so get on out of here. So Garcelle has to tell her, girl, that's a different situation. This is not about you, and you cannot compare the two because what Crystal is doing is intentional. Okay, so Dorit then says, Dorit says, well, girl, do you think maybe you're exaggerating and making things up? Now, why would you ask somebody that? The girl is already on Crystal is, listen, the girl is already on pins and needles. You can see it at the end of the table. Now, why I do think that she is being confusing and intentionally obtuse. I don't think that the girl is making anything up. I really think in her mind there was something that happened that was dark. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say that she didn't experience what she felt like she experienced because that would be to deny her experience. But my problem is you need to say what you experienced if you're even going to bring this situation up. Anyway, Crystal says, I'm not making things up. That is what I said is that things. Now, see, she kind of changed up on us a little bit right here. She says, what I said is that things were said that were hurtful, and that's it. I need you to stop denying my experience. I need you to be crystal clear about your experience, Crystal. In that regard, you're going to have to be clear about what it was that you experienced, because right now you are not, okay? It's murky, all right? JMW says, Crystal has a problem that Sutton, as a white woman, listed all of the different races in the conversation. That's the part that's dark for her. We're going to talk about that. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, okay? But let's go through it, because at this point, JMW, that's what it sounds like. Okay? So, Kyle then pipes in and says, but you need to stop coming at somebody's character by saying she said something that was so dark that she could be canceled. And Kyle then really gets rowdy with her and calls out her gaslighting again. So Crystal, in her confessional, which I thought was very interesting, Crystal said if Rinna or Erika said the word dark, no one would question them. I say it, and suddenly it's so horrific that I used it. I think they see me as someone they can easily attack, judge, and provoke. You know what? I would almost be willing to go down that path with her. But the reason I can't is because what I can definitely say, whether you like these women or not, Lisa Rinna and Erika Jayne would have definitely followed up that statement with, she said something dark, and here is what she said. Because they know how to play the housewives game. They know how to play this game. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna say exactly what she said. And in this instance, I definitely believe that they would have just come out and said it. So to me, I mean, you can't use that. All right. So then Crystal says it was an uncomfortable conversation, and that was that. Garcelle turns to Sutton. Well, Sutton, how do you know what? You know Garcelle started all this, right? Garcelle, we see you. Anyway, Garcelle is working for that check this season. Let me tell you that. Garcelle turns to Sutton. How do you feel about this? And Sutton says, I would never, ever say something that was so dark. Okay. So finally, Erika has had enough. And this is probably the one time she has spoken that I felt like I actually was on almost with her. Erika says, what do you think she's accusing you of, Sutton? Sutton again, I don't want any insinuation about my personal character. Erika says, so you just want her to say that she doesn't think that you are a racist. The table, a hush falls over the table. Did she say that word? She said it. Oh, she said it. Listen, so can somebody finally somebody cut through the mess? Okay, cut through the mess. All right. So Sutton gets to stuttering, and Dorit chimes in and says, it's not about the content of the conversation. It's about the insinuation, ... And Erika says, yeah, the insinuation that she's a racist. Okay. So then, GD says, love Garcelle and Sutton, not Dorit Smollett. Oh, you know what? Not Dorit Smollett. Get out of here. Okay. I was literally here for Erika in this moment. This is one of those times where I'm like, I mean, somebody had to cut through this BS, okay? Like, cause I'm tired. So Lisa says, well, this is where it gets really dangerous. You're dangling a dangerous carrot, Crystal. And Erika says, basically, when you don't say what it is, people are going to fill in the blanks and it's going to be awkward. Lisa said, it's already pretty bad. She turns to Sutton. It's bad for you. Sutton getting riled up. No, it's not. And I'm effing pissed. She continues that she said nothing wrong and she said nothing bad about the situation. Crystal then says, I didn't bring it up. Sutton, yes, you did. And you have a pattern with this with all of your friends. And you need to stop it because I like you. Who? What? First of all, Sutton, I'm gonna need this same energy the next time Erika come at you, please. Okay. Second of all, who are these friends that you were talking about? Who are these people? Who are the people that you're talking about? Because now you are doing the same thing that Crystal has done to you. Okay. I am so frustrated at this point. I do not even know what to say. I was like, Sutton, did you really just do that? You had a whole case that you could have been working on this situation, but you chose to open your mouth. I told you she was clumsy with her words. Okay. If she had not, listen, she should not have said that, because then the tea is spilled. Because Lisa Rinna says, well, first of all, Erika chimes in and says, how do the friends fit into this? And Sutton says, I just know things cryptically. Okay. So in her confessional, she talks about Beverly Hills being a small town and her friends and she has friends who are no longer friends with Crystal, that told her that Crystal will make sure that she's friends with the most powerful girls in the group and she'll do anything she can to get there. And Erika's like, but what? So Diana points out, well, now you're doing the same thing and you got to say what it is. And Sutton says, I'm just telling her something because it's out of love. Okay. And so Lisa says in her confessional, she's like, I've heard what Sutton's talking about. I was like, what in the world is happening tonight? Crystal, what is you got going on over there? What in the social climate is happening here today? Okay. Because Lisa Rinna spilling that tea too. Lisa Rinna says, I've heard the same things that Sutton said. I just have chosen not to necessarily use it yet. Okay. But then in real time, she encourages Sutton onward. So you've heard this is a pattern, you say. I said, Lisa, you are stirring. This dinner was wild. Okay. So Kyle chimes in and says, as the only other person that was there in that conversation, I didn't witness anything else that occurred. So then Crystal in her confessional says, Kyle's choosing to focus on what serves her and not focusing on what was actually important. And that might have been hurtful to me or people of color. Now, to me, this was one of the most dangerous things that she said. The reason why I'm going to tell you is this. I feel like I don't mind that Crystal is in the hot seat right now, because I feel like it forces her to step up and to start speaking her mind. So that's the good thing. But the bad thing about the situation is I cannot get a gauge on what truly happened because the story keeps shifting just a bit. So here is where I will tell you what exactly she said on Watch What Happens Live that comes into direct contrast with what she said on the show. In this moment, she said Kyle is choosing to focus on what serves her and not focusing on what was actually important that might have been hurtful to me or people of color. Meaning if you felt like that, then Kyle must have been a participant in that conversation. And this must be the conversation that you're talking about, not the conversation that Kyle was not present for. Because if you are saying that Kyle is only focusing on what was important to her, that means that Kyle was actually there. Otherwise, she would have just said, Kyle, you weren't even there for this conversation. So why are you even piping in on this? But she never said that. Okay. It was only because of Sutton that we found out that there was a second conversation, because Sutton told Garcelle, and then they bring it out into the group in just 1 second. But then what she said on Watch What Happens Live directly contrasts what she said on the show. On the show, on Watch What Happens Live, she's told Andy that there was another conversation that was had. Or she alluded to there being another conversation that was had. Her exact words, and I wrote them down. Crystal said that the story that was put out there on the show was not the one that was problematic. And that means that there was another conversation that you are alluding to that was had that was problematic. And then on Watch What Happens Live, she says Sutton apologized for it. And that is what she said. And they had lengthy conversations about this. And Crystal is now ready to move past it. But I'm like, Crystal, I need you to be, again, crystal clear and I need you to get this story absolutely 110% correct. because the impression that you are leaving us with is the idea that this woman said something that is so problematic that the rest of us would choose to likely cancel her if we knew what it was. And she doubled down on it. So my thing is, just get the story straight. Whenever you tell the story, you need to tell the exact same story. And therein lies the problem with this whole ominous word dark. If you're not going to tell us what was said, then now you told several different stories. You've alluded to several different conversations, and now you have murked the waters even worse. And so the whole thing is a bloody pond. Okay, so I don't understand what you want us to do with this information at this point, but it just feels very, I don't like it at all. I really don't. I don't like it. Don't play with the problematic race stuff like that. If you're not willing to, like, you got to be 10 toes down when you make a statement about somebody and you are saying that they said something problematic. And I'm not saying that you didn't experience something problematic, but I'm saying that you need to be crystal clear on what it was and state it after you have alluded to the fact that somebody said it. Okay? So anyway, Kyle wonders in her confessional, okay? No, Crystal says in real time, can we just move on? Kyle says, I don't think you want it said because you made it seem worse than it was. So Kyle wonders in her confessional if she missed something that upset Crystal and triggered her and realizes that she could have. But she says, if I did, then tell me what it was. So Sutton chimes in that they had a long conversation and Erika just wants to know what was said. Sutton then relays the story about her telling Crystal about, her child being in the pool. There was a black girl in the pool, a Chinese girl in the pool, and everybody is welcome in her home. And that was it. Kyle then realizes that this was a part of a conversation that she was not in. And it was something that Sutton had told her, but even when she told her, she didn't feel like it was anything that was dark. Garcelle says that Sutton relayed the story to her too. And Crystal, see, this is my thing. Yet again, we get another conflicting bit of information. At first, it was a conversation that Crystal says that Kyle chose to ignore something in. Now she's alluding to it being about what Sutton said about the pool, the kids in the pool, because she specifically asked Garcelle in that moment, and you didn't find anything problematic about that? And Garcelle is like, no. Okay. Garcelle is upset that she made it sound so dark that it could hurt Sutton's reputation. And meanwhile, Sutton is just sitting there aghast and distraught. And finally, next week, we get somebody telling Erika what we have all been thinking all this time.
Yeah, right. Erika, you're bugging the shit out of me.
Tales from the dark side, y'all. Tales from the dark side. Listen, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure to come back next week. Next week looks like it's going to be even more lit. And I will catch you guys in the next video. You know what? Let's go on ahead and end it on a
Erika, you're bugging the shit out of me.